Welcome to The State of Us. Real people with honest opinions and the future of responsible media. Here's your host, Justin T. Weller.
The state of the race. Texas, dark money for Dems, Trump, seeing what's going to stick, and early voting is immense. We got a lot to get through today.
Okay.
The state of the race.
Ready to go.
It's a nice play.
Oh, wait for my intro. Let's go.
You don't even need it. This is your friendly redneck liberals ready to.
You're saying we got a lot of stuff to do.
Okay,
huh?
we'll just get into it.
It's Friday. Got to start partying.
All right. Yeah? What's your idea of partying?
Man, I can't wait till practice is over so I can go home and go to bed.
And get some high quality sleep.
Yeah, because I got to get up early because there's a scrimmage tomorrow.
Oh,
I got to ride a bus for more than an hour, a school bus.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I thought I gave those days up.
Nope. They're back. Okay, so we're starting with the Texas Senate race.
Okay.
So the two questions, by the way, everything that we're working with.
Lion Ted.
Yes, Lion Ted.
All right.
Everything we're working with today is from the New York Times. So we're New York Times heavy today, but I'm making a note of this now because for any of you who are like, oh, the Times, great, here they go again. I'm pointing out that the second thing we're talking about is a New York Times article entitled How a Democratic Dark Money Group Flooded the 2018 House Map. Okay.
Boom.
So everybody just chill. All right. We're just sharing info. The Times is like, hey, we can take shots at everybody. Okay.
That's right.
It's not our fault if the Dems just don't do as much bad stuff as often.
Or the mood of the country changes.
Right. Or the mood of the country changes. But that's a different conversation. So, does Senator Ted Cruz really enjoy a comfortable lead over Representative Beto O'Rourke? Or are the polls not accounting for a surge in turnout, especially among millennials and first-time voters? Which do you think it is, Lance? Internal Republican polling indicates that Mr. Cruz is ahead by about 8 or 9 points, depending on the survey. Those polls, according to GOP officials, are assuming a turnout of just over 6 million voters.
It'd be huge if Ted Cruz went down, but I don't think.
Not this time?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Your prediction is a no this time around?
Man, I hope that's, since we can't vote on the president this time, that's almost like the next best thing.
So they're projecting a turnout, and this is
how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz's, can anybody name his party? Right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he one of the leaders of the Tea Party? Way back when it first formed?
Way back when?
Yeah. Or am I misnaming?
Well, I think he was one of the early adopters of the Republican takeover of the. Because really, if people don't, I'll just point this out because we talk about the Tea Party a lot. The original notion of the Tea Party was something that I remember when I heard the news coverage back in I think it was 07 or 08, that was encouraging because it was this idea to, two citizens who had gotten together and basically started forming what they looked at as a decentralized advocacy group for America, citizens advocating for citizens kind of thing, which sounded nice. The problem was, as they highlighted in the interview, they have no central leadership. And the alt-right, the far-right, the ultra-conservative, whatever you want to call them, the super Republicans, which I would contend they're not, they saw an opportunity to seize on this positive thing and take control of it. And that's kind of what happened. And then it quickly fell apart from becoming what it was designed to be, which was hopefully a, non-centralized citizen voting block. Because they had no leadership, there was no way to guide the group. So
even though I don't agree, I don't think with I'll bet it would be hard pressed for me to find 25% of the political stances that Ted Cruz took that I would agree with.
Yeah.
The main reason I don't like him is I have trouble respecting any person who has the things said about them that Donald Trump said about Ted Cruz and then turn around and welcome them back with open arms. Right. I do understand. Don't get me wrong. I understand politics. I think I understand politics very well. I know why Ted Cruz is doing this. You don't need to flood the email and explain to me why Ted Cruz is I understand why he's doing that. I have a hard time respecting anybody who would do that because were I Ted Cruz and Donald Trump tried to come into my state or come into my rally, I'd punch him in the mouth. And I'm a nonviolent person. But you don't talk about me. You don't talk about my wife. You don't talk about my dead father.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to glad hand you and welcome you
yeah.
to my rally. Just so I would respect Ted Cruz a whole lot more if he just
had stood his
told
ground.
President Trump to go fly a kite.
Yeah.
Still wouldn't agree with his politics.
I like that one.
But
go fly a kite.
You like that one? I was trying to clean it up.
Next time I'm mad at somebody, I would say, you know what? You just go fly a kite.
You never heard that one before?
No.
That must be, okay.
I like it, though. I like flying kites.
Okay.
I'd be okay if somebody told me to go fly a kite.
Go fly a kite?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll go fly that kite.
It's rainy today. I don't know if I'd want to fly a kite.
Dangerous. Discover electricity again.
That's right.
Yeah,
You're
okay.
Ben Franklin.
So Texas, the interesting thing here is so far in 9 days of advance voting, which includes absentee ballots and in-person early voting, there have been almost 4 million people vote, which is 84% of the total number of people who voted in the 2014 midterms. This references something we're kind of talking about later, but I'm bringing it up because there's info on Texas, because they're saying, right, I mean, what this article is getting at here is they're estimating that there will be just over 6 million voters.
Well, Trump won Texas by double digits
in
the presidential election. So any Senate race, especially with the incumbent of the stature of Ted Cruz, any Senate race in the midterm that is in the single digits seems like a close race. But, and you brought up something.
And it's relative.
Right.
It's close considering that.
I hope it happens. I mean, I've listened to Beto O'Rourke. I've read a couple of his campaign speeches that he's given on air at different places. I've gone online and read them. I mean, I hope he wins. I like what he stands for. It does make, as you said earlier off air, an interesting discussion as to what's happening in the state of Texas. There's been so much economic growth in Texas in the last 10 years, and so much of the workforce has had to come from other parts of the country because it's either technology driven or oil engineers or whatever. In that now Texas is starting to change a little bit, that it is not necessarily, before Texas was made up of Texans.
Yeah.
And people who worked in Texas were from Texas. And that's starting to change. It's becoming more, you mentioned Austin and Dallas and Houston. They're starting to become more of a diverse population in some of the metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
So it's changing a little bit politically.
I was wondering beforehand. And
just like the Atlanta suburbs. I mean, Atlanta's gone through that early. And yeah, Georgia's still a red state, but the suburbs around Atlanta and the growth of Atlanta has just changed that state. And all of a sudden, the Democrats start to think, well, maybe we can do some things here. And look at their governor race.
Yeah.
Not trying to steal your thunder but the governor's race in Georgia, I was reading yesterday, could go to a runoff because there's a third-party libertarian candidate that's getting just enough that could keep either one of them from getting a 50% margin, which means that by state law, it would have to go to a runoff. So if one of them gets 47% and one gets 45% and the libertarian candidate gets 8%, then it goes to a runoff between the top two. That's the way state law. So then you have to throw the libertarian out and do it again. And either those people don't vote at all. The libertarians
and then everything stays the same.
And it stays the same.
Or they go vote.
Right. They go vote one way or the other and it pushes
somebody over.
Right. The 50% margin.
Well, I think
well, I guess mathematically it would take the person who ever got 48 or 49 to 50 because there'd be fewer votes cast.
Right.
If the libertarians
somebody would have to have a majority.
Right. At that point.
Because even if, that makes sense. Even if they stayed
Whoever
home,
got the most votes,
you'd still have,
It's amazing how that math stuff works.
Bro.
Boom.
Blow our minds.
Anyway, sorry, not to get us off topic.
No, it's fine. I think the whole thing that's interesting in several states around the country, and Texas is probably just the closest to being one that we're going to see change probably in the upcoming years. And I guess that's what we'll end with on this, is just helping people think about it. At one time, it wasn't if you said you were from California, that people immediately assume, oh, you're some crazy liberal, weird weed smoking, whatever. And not that everybody thinks that today, but you know what I mean. Everybody has this idea of, you say Californian,
Well,
what
I
comes
think
to
if
mind.
you talk to Midwesterners,
Yeah, okay.
I would say that's
True.
You being a born and bred Midwesterner, me.
I'll have to ask some
Me,
more
a
people.
mixed up Midwesterner, Southerner, because I
Yeah.
never understood where people from Ohio told me they were Midwesterners, but they do.
Yes.
So, I mean, I come from Missouri, so I think of myself as Midwest / Southern, but then it also depends on what part of Missouri you come from as to whether you consider yourself a Southerner.
Right. Well, it's just like
I-70 splits the state. I mean,
when you look at the whole, the way the country's officially divided into regions, there's no reason the Midwest should be the Mideast or the Northeast or whatever, but it shouldn't be the Midwest. It was one time the Midwest.
It was.
Once upon a time, long ago.
when the country existed to the Mississippi River, Ohio was Midwest.
Right. Just like Kentucky shouldn't be part of the South per se, but it, it's south of Ohio, so it's the South, I guess. I don't know. I didn't make these rules. We just live by them, right? So
You got to watch the 50 States show
yeah.
on the History Channel. Talks about how the shape of the states and how they all came about. And
Sounds
very interesting,
fascinating.
very interesting show.
I'm sure there's some people who are like, that sounds really boring, but I think it sounds
No, I mean,
interesting.
there are like real situations as to why Utah has a little tip above it.
I'm sure
you
there
know,
are
and
there's
why,
good reasons.
and why Florida runs all the way underneath Alabama. And, there are like Indian wars and legal battles and all kinds of different things that
Sure.
talk about how we ended up with the shape of our states. But
Hopefully it provides some insight too, why the more Western states got drawn, it seems like, more cleanly than most of the Eastern states. So, and I'm talking about geographically East and West, not.
But back to your California point.
Yes.
Us Midwesterners, we Midwesterners, I want to make sure I'm grammatically correct there. We Midwesterners tended in the old days to have that hippie attitude when talking about California.
And I'm wondering, what's the likelihood that we're going to see this shift from, today you say you're from Texas, and I think everybody has kind of an opposite impression of what you get from somebody from California. But as these metros continue to grow, I wonder if it's going to be a California situation, because as I was pointing out before the show, the interesting thing is there's a lot of California geographically that is red that everybody forgets about. There's plenty of people who I'm sure are very supportive of President Trump in California.
Especially in the southern part of the state.
Yes. All over the place.
South of LA.
Right. When you get outside of the metros, the big areas. So I guess what I'm getting at is it'll be interesting to see how Texas over the next several elections, midterms and presidential elections, probably starts to shift into that very realistic possibility of blue or
But I give
red.
I give Beto O'Rourke a chance. You have to understand we're going into the weekend.
yes.
And historically, the weekend before the election, but historically, President Trump's weekends have been very entertaining as far as
That's a kind way to put it.
presidential activity and events and decisions that are tweeted about on the weekends.
And we know most people
most
don't make
people
up their
think-
minds until right before.
Most people try to leave town. I mean, the old adage was, Washington, D.C. was closed on the weekends, Friday at noon, everything shut down, was kind of quiet. It hasn't been that way with the Trump presidency. So with this, the last weekend, and we know that President Trump's schedule is a very busy one as he flies around the country and holds campaign rallies at a lot of different airports
If
across
something
the
will
United
be
States.
said that
How this is all going to, break come Tuesday. So a lot of decisions, even with all the early voting,
right.
there's still a lot of people that are waiting to make their decisions or who haven't gone to the polls yet.
The people typically that are undecided at this point, what the data tells us is they remain undecided typically until either the night before or the day of voting. It's not unusual.
Or they're older people like me who still don't understand don't like the concept of early voting. It's like you always vote on Tuesday, so you got to go vote on election day.
Right. They wait.
You just wait. I mean, I'm not undecided at all on any of my issues or ballots choices, but it doesn't count unless you vote on Tuesday. I know it does, but I don't really trust them unless I vote on Tuesday.
You're worried.
They might lose my ballot, might get misplayed, but if I go on Tuesday, they won't do that. I know that's silly, but that's, it's hard to break that.
No, it's okay.
Habit. It's hard to break that old habit.
I sympathize with it a little bit in the respect of, I talk about early voting all the time, but Brett and I we vote on election day, which was dumb in the 2016 election because I waited and there was a lot of cases where people waited even longer, but I waited almost 2 hours in line to vote. And people out the door, in the cold. I was getting rained on part of the time. If
everybody at my precinct showed up at the same time, it'd still be a 15-minute wait.
Right, it'd still get through. Still be done fast. But I was like, I remember standing in line thinking, well, this was dumb.
Why did you go to early voting?
Yeah,
or absentee?
Voted early. Yeah, I wouldn't even have to leave the house. The other thing is, data tells us the people who vote absentee spend more time with their ballot, which should. Generally, the thinking is that means they'll make better decisions. There's no pressure, you don't feel like you have to hurry. And if you run into something that you didn't remember or forgot was on the ballot, you can take time to look it up instead of just skipping it. Or I think what's worse than skipping it, which is just writing something in, I don't know what to do. I don't know who that is, so I'll just vote for someone.
I like this name better than the other one.
Right. It's like, okay, well, probably better to just not vote if you don't know. On a particular thing, just skip it. Don't just give people support who you don't know if you support them or not.
Or write your friendly redneck liberal in this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not sure, just write me in.
I think that'd be fun.
I'd like to see how many votes I can get around the
friendly
country.
redneck liberal. Yeah. Okay. So, Texas, I think we're both pretty much of the opinion. I mean, hey, like I said, right? I think it would be very interesting if Mr. O'Rourke could get her done.
Well, he is closing quickly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we said, the average is about 8 or 9 points, but that has continued. It's progressively gotten smaller. And like you said, going into the weekend, you do something that has those people on the fence who either were debating between the two or were considering just not going to vote because it's like, oh, well, he's probably not going to get it. And then they get mad, because Trump or somebody else says something.
Well, if you look at a margin of error of 4,
right,
he's either down instead of 8, he's down 4, or he's down 12.
Yeah. So it could be better or worse too than what we're looking at. Okay. So Democratic dark money group flooded the 2018 House map, according to the New York Times. We're going to spend a little time on this, but before we get into it, don't forget to engage with us at TrueChatORG. Let us know what you think about Texas and if and when it might become more of a purple swing kind of state. It was I remember having those conversations leading up to the 2016 election about its possibility of becoming a state where we have to more seriously look at it and the Republicans can't just say, oh, we got it in the bag.
Because the transplants have been moving for a few years now.
Yeah. So. And that makes a substantial difference. And Texas holds a large amount of electoral college votes, which becomes very important in our presidential election years. So, the Democratic Dark Money Group. At the center of an effort is an opaquely named Democratic organization, the Hub Project, which is on track to spend nearly $30 million since 2017, pressuring members of Congress in their districts. The great bulk of its funding has come from so-called dark money, funds from donors who are not legally required to reveal their names. And you might say, okay, well, how is that possible? This goes to campaign finance law. And if you all remember the wonderful Koch brothers and their, what was the organization called? Come on, help me out, Lance. What was their thing called? It's in here somewhere in this article.
The Pepsi Company?
I'll find it. No.
You get it, the Koch brothers?
Citizens United or whatever.
I just know the Koch brothers are all about free trade.
Yeah, the point is,
I've done a lot of reading about their capitalistic ventures and have a former student who's a very strong free trade economist that I've had some lively debates with. So that's what I know them for. And I don't know what the name of their group is. I just know that they're very much pushing for, free trade, raw, open capitalism.
Yeah, they don't really care who it is or what they stand for.
They
beyond
really don't stand for political parties. They're all about, they want to do radical trade. I say radical for most Americans, Republicans and Democrats, because people don't understand how many laws and things go into what we have and how well off we are because of those things.
So the Hub Project and the groups like it that are,
but they have them. Your point is they're on both sides.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at.
Dark money has been spent on both sides, and the Times is bringing out in this article that the Democrats have their own counter Koch group.
Yeah, that it's
spending dark money.
That it's not only on the Republican side, and as Lance is pointing out, in that particular case, again, the Koch brothers really just being more interested in particular policies, and they could give a hoot or a holler about, who it's coming from as long as they're getting what they want. That's for them. I think that's pretty much where it ends. But the interesting thing is that the Hub Project, so there's this one office in DC that's coordinating all these different groups that are named different things. Like, for example, Americans for a Better America. So that's like one of those really innocuous sounding names of, well, who doesn't want that, kind of thing. At first glance, most of the groups don't have anything about them that appear inherently democratic, inherently liberal. They just sound like things that we all should want. And what they do is they don't coordinate with campaigns directly. They basically attack the opposition to campaigns that they favor. And so Lance can donate to them, and because they're not an official political campaign, he doesn't have to disclose, and they don't have to disclose what was donated
where
publicly.
all the money comes from.
Right. So it's a way around that. Well, I don't have to give money to the candidate. I'll just give money to a group that's attacking the candidate's opponents.
Well, it's to get around the campaign finance reform laws.
Yeah.
So I can donate
that's the whole point.
My millions and millions and millions of dollars instead of my $50 to every candidate or whatever.
Right.
The maximum is.
Well, and see, like another one, Floridians for a Fair Shake. Okay.
You remember the Swift boaters? Remember President John Kerry being Swift boated? It was started by Vietnam veterans who didn't want Kerry to be president. And they came out with all these anti-Kerry ads when he ran for president. And that became a verb. He was Swift boated because it was one of these PACs that was dark money.
Yeah.
Nobody knew where they came from, but it was all attacking Kerry's Vietnam War service.
So this goes back to, I think, right, Lance, everybody out there needs to understand that there are a lot of different things we could still do to improve campaign finance if we all believe that that's an issue where the amount of money going to campaigns should be regulated. We talked a lot about it on the War to Save America. I think it was one of the few things we never actually got anything done on because it is tough. Because as we talked about, every new thing we do, you can almost always find a way around it somehow.
Exactly. I was just getting ready to say, whatever rule you make, I mean, it's just like in school, whatever rule the teacher makes, you find a way around it. Yeah. I mean, if you're a halfway intelligent student.
The only thing that we could figure out, and we weren't crazy about this, was the idea of just prohibiting donations to political campaigns and, designating a small portion of tax dollars to equally fund campaigns.
Everybody gets to spend the same amount of money.
Right. But the problem that we came up with then is
go over that.
Anybody then announcing their candidacy gets a piece of the pie.
Right.
And you could say, well, that's the most fair,
Wouldn't that be great
system.
To have?
Right. Because then you wouldn't have to get upset at people like Camden
candidates
for the libertarian candidate who doesn't have a chance because they don't have the same kind of money. So that's the only one we've figured out, but obviously there's a lot of implications that go into that debate, and it's not what we're talking about today, so we got to move on. But let us know your thoughts on Democrat dark money, and if you have a solution to campaign finance that could help shore things up there to make it harder to do this kind of so blatant roundabout move. It's no secret. People don't want to be known that they're donating this money. And so don't give it to the candidate, give it to the people who are attacking the candidate's opponent, which is basically, it might as well be the same thing, right?
Or the groups now that just attack Republicans or Democrats blatantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the one that's running in Ohio here. Have you seen it? About if you it shows a student protesting and somebody crossing a border with a gun. And it says, this is what you get if you vote Democrat. Don't vote Democrat. Paid for by, Florida for a peaceful. I don't know who it is. I mean, but it's
Americans for a great America kind of thing.
And it's just not slamming any candidate.
Right. It's the whole party.
Slamming the whole party.
Yeah.
And then
vote
then
R,
obviously
not D.
After about 2 or 3 of those days of that, I saw one with the Democrats saying, do you want your health care protected? Do you want,
probably
this,
show
that,
some
and the
old
other.
person out on the street dying,
Right.
This is what you get if you get Republicans.
This is what's going to happen if you let the Republicans stay in control.
Right.
So they don't even go after candidates now.
It's just the whole.
They're just blasting political parties as a whole.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Get them out of here. In campaign's home stretch, Trump tosses out ideas to see what sticks. Before we get to that, though, why is True Chat spending time on this? Well, it's because the State of Us, as an individual podcast, is working on shedding light on the issues that we feel the media either isn't giving enough attention to or the right kind of attention to. Obviously, the Times is giving significant attention to these issues, so it's nice that we get to share that information with those of you who might not otherwise be aware of it. But of course, all the podcasts on True Chat pursue a common interest, and that's to educate people by providing open, honest, and respectful conversations. If for any reason you think that we're not upholding that standard, please email ethics@truechat.org, ethics@truechat.org. And Lance, people want to engage and tell you you're a big dumb Dumbo.
Yeah.
Do you know how they can do that? At TrueChat.org,
They can call me up, right?
Yeah, they can call you?
Yeah.
They can.
They can. I don't know if I'll answer.
Well, they can call True Chat.
Oh, okay.
We can get them.
Yeah?
We'll make sure.
Cool.
I'll tell the people answering the phones.
Okay.
Send them to Lance.
Send them to
Anybody
me.
that calls in with a complaint, send them to Lance. So,
TrueChat.org, right?
yeah. Well, they
Get
can go
hold
to
of the ethics department.
Well, how if they want to comment? So at TrueChat.org on Facebook and Twitter. And you say
Go to
you
a
want,
Trump rally and make a sign this
you
weekend.
want people to be able to call, right?
Yeah.
So 844-878-2428. Give us
There
a call.
you go. Yeah. Call us up.
Yeah.
I'm old school. I'll talk to you.
I'll talk to you. We'll direct them over. I think you've got an extension too. I don't know what it is offhand.
Oh,
but
wow.
I'm pretty sure you've got an extension. If they dial the extension, it forwards it to you.
Another one of those bonuses that
Sends it
I
to
didn't
your
even
cell
know I
phone,
had.
right? I didn't even know. Now when you get a call one day, you're like, who's this?
We can talk some politics or
Yeah.
some oil prices or educational issue.
Or
Call
some
me up.
holiday food.
Yeah, I'm that retired guy,
I'm
My
available.
phone's available.
No, your agent says we can't do that. So
okay.
Got to keep your time strictly
Man, you
managed.
should have told those 2 people that called me this morning before we came on air that I spent
me
time
alone.
talking to.
Okay. So, first there was the middle class tax cut.
Yeah, I never did see that. That's supposed to happen. Hope that happens is on Monday because I mentioned that the other day. I'm still looking for my middle class tax cut.
The second part of this is the great thing. The first part, there was the middle class tax cut that even his allies and many of his aides had not heard about.
Sure.
So,
Well, he was going to have Congress pass it when they were already out of session, all back campaigning at home, and
that'd
they
be
weren't
really impressive.
due back at any time.
Yeah.
But hey, doesn't stop Donald Trump, baby.
He'll
He's
get
going to
her
have
done.
him get it done. That's right.
Well, he has the power, right? He can call right? He can do that. Yeah. He can call a session of Congress, right? A joint session.
yeah.
The president has that power, right?
Yeah.
He can do that. So he could make him come back. They don't have to vote on it, but he could make him come back and hang around. So then the troops were dispatched to the border to counter, quote, in the president's word, an invasion of our country, end quote, by impoverished migrants that were about 900 miles away from the border. And then on Tuesday, President Trump declared that he would sign an executive order essentially rewriting the Constitution as it has been traditionally interpreted to stop children of undocumented immigrants from automatically becoming citizens just because they were born in the United States, claiming power no other president has asserted. In the last days, Mr. Trump seems to be throwing almost anything he can think of against the wall to see what might stick, no matter how untethered from political or legal reality. Frustrated that other topics like last week's spate of mail bombs came to dominate the news, the president has sought to seize back the national stage in the last stretch of the campaign.
When's Mexico going to pay for that wall?
I don't know.
I mean, he's been president 2 years now.
Yep.
He was going to build a wall, and Mexico was going to pay for it.
Mexico's said a lot of times they ain't going to do that.
I'm still waiting for him to get that done.
Are you? You're waiting on it?
Yeah, I'm waiting to see him get that done.
Waiting on your middle class
along
tax
with my middle
cut.
class tax cut. Yeah. And
hey, he got the troops to the border though. He did that.
I don't think they're there yet.
Got her done. Well, I thought there was. Now I might be wrong, but I thought I was hearing reporting yesterday evening that the first images were coming in of the, of the National Guard and stuff arriving.
Well, that's not. I'm sure those soldiers are very respectful of the president and glad they're going to be away from home from their families on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
To protect people who won't even be there by Thanksgiving.
Well, got to be prepared. They might have jetpacks or something. Hey, then that wall won't do much good.
So far, the drones have shown that they don't have jetpacks.
Gotcha. You're trusting the drones?
More people.
I just want it to be noted that if Lance sees
I'm
here,
just saying,
he's trusting the drones.
I didn't say trusting. I just said the drones haven't shown that.
People tell you that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's more troops on the border than there are in Afghanistan.
So the point of us sharing this is really to convey that at this stage, whether it's the president or anybody else, as sad as it might be, it can be really difficult to trust things you hear right before the election. As far as
he's also said, if the Republicans win, he's the reason. If the Republicans lose, it's not his fault.
Yep. I like that. I'd like more of that, right? Anytime something good happens,
I did it
to people around me, it's to my credit. But if anything bad happens to them, it's not my fault.
I didn't do it. Not me.
I love it. Sounds great.
A lot of way to live your life.
Can we have more of that? Okay, so the last bit here is just a tidbit of good news for people, which is that.
But it does look like I think he's going to be able to crow a little bit, because I think
you're thinking they're going to make some inroads in the Senate,
and I think they're going to have more seats in the Senate. Now, small numbers, but there's going to be an increase in Republicans in the Senate.
Enough that I
do think they're going to lose the House.
Okay.
I mean, you're not asking for predictions, but I'm
giving them anyway.
I think I
get them in there.
I was worried. Well, a couple weeks ago, I was worried that the House wasn't going to be flipped.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
you're getting more confident now.
I'm getting more confident as we get closer, but I'm also more confident that we're going to see an increase in Republican numbers in the Senate. But anyway, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Fired up voters in 18 states are outpacing 2014 early ballot counts. Now that headline is not, I was a little upset with the Times. I didn't think that was sexy enough. I tell you what, if I was the editor, we'd be figuring out a better headline. Midterm elections tend to attract lower turnout than presidential contests. You probably already knew that. In 2016, more than 47 million votes were cast early, compared to 27 million in 2014, the last midterms. Yet this year's advance vote count, which measures both absentee ballots and in-person early voting, has already exceeded the count from 4 years ago. And this is where I think it gets pretty interesting. I'm just going to highlight a couple of the impressive ones.
Yeah, just real quick comment.
Yeah, this is good.
It's very positive. I mean, at least people are stepping out and having their say.
So Tennessee, for example, 2014, so far there have been 1.4 million ballots cast over 15 days, which is 95% of all votes cast in 2014. So with early voting alone, they've almost already exceeded it. And that's just one example. You can look up this article and look at all of them for yourself, because it is pretty impressive how many states they've almost gotten to, how many people in total voted in 2014. So go check out that article. Again, fired up voters in 18 states are outpacing 2014 early ballot counts. You can find that New York Times article if you Google it. Vote411.org. This is if you need to know what's on your local ballot. I can attest that I'll be using it this year again to find out everything that's on the ballot ahead of time and make good decisions. This is a website where you enter your address. It'll show you all the people and issues that are on your ballot. And for the people that are on your ballot, they have reached out to all of them and asked for their responses to common questions that Americans want to know about. And then you can see their answers side by side to those questions, or their lack thereof to those answers, which might be telling. So you can look at all that. You can see all the issues. And with the issues, it'll say, here is the common for opinion, in favor of it. And here's the common opinion against it. So it gives you a nice layout of helping you make those decisions. And once you've filled it all out, you can print it. And they also make a big deal of your privacy is very important. Once you leave the page you're on, all of that data is gone forever. So don't walk away once you start. Get her done. Yeah, it's deleted. So definitely make use of that resource if you want. And if you're less sure about, you start going to vote411.org and you're kind of like, well, some of these things are a little confusing. I'm not entirely sure. There's another website you can check out, isidewith.com. They have this new interactive questionnaire you can fill out that asks about your beliefs on a number of issues. It's kind of like that political indicator test. And it matches you with candidates who are running in your area who fit those beliefs. I haven't used it yet, so I can't attest to how accurate it is, but I think it's worth an investigation. If you don't know where to vote, when to vote, or how to vote, if you search voter guide on Google, you'll get a nice pop-up that says, here are the rules in your state, because it detects your location automatically. And it'll tell you, this is where you go vote. This is what kind of ID, if any, you need to bring. This is how much, this is when the polls are open, all of that. And it has a locator so you can enter your address and it'll tell you exactly where to go vote. So no excuses. Vote411.org, isidewith.com, and Google voter guide, and you'll have everything that you needed. Any final advice you want to leave with people for this election, Lance?
Nope.
Okay. Go vote.
Nope.
No? Don't want them to vote?
Do whatever you're led to do, baby. That's
Okay.
what makes America great.
You have the choice. Yes?
Yes. We don't need to make America great again. America has always been great.
I know. You think so, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us, where can people find True Chat podcasts?
Stitcher.
Yep. We got one.
Spotify.
2.
And Apple Pie Podcast.
Oh, 3.
That's right.
We'll let that one
I
slide.
knew it was Apple. I was just playing Apple Podcast.
Do you like apple pie?
It's not my favorite, but it's
pie, so.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Pretty much all pie fair
Pie
game?
is good. Yeah.
Pie is good all the time.
Pie are round. Pie is good.
Okay.
But Apple's not one of my
What's your favorite?
tops.
You can only keep one pie.
Cherry,
Ooh, good choice. Classic.
followed by peach. And then butterscotch cream.
I'm liking them so far.
And then pecan. And then it would be apple.
Okay.
So apple would make the top 5.
I like that you have, most people, I felt like if you asked them for their top 5 pies, they'd be like, they probably get the first one.
I can even attach names of people who would be my go-to to bake them for me.
Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah.
So you can who to hit up
Like
for
5
what
people
kinds
you
of
want to
pies.
see in heaven.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The pie makers.
Hmm. My grandma, my aunt, and my mother.
Those seem
they're all gone.
solid
But
choices.
the 5 people I would want to have dinner with,
Yeah.
from heaven,
As long as they're making the dinner.
that'd be 3 of them.
okay. They got to be cooking though.
I don't know what you call blackberry. I mean, it's blackberry cobbler,
Okay.
but yeah, it's not really a pie. I mean, it kind of is a pie, but
It's a cobbler.
yeah.
Yeah. I think
Most people would look at it and say it's a pie,
gets lumped in with the pie.
but for us Southerners, there's a difference between a pie and a cobbler.
There's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there it is.
No, there's a
I'm just telling you, there it
You
is.
can't tell me how it is. Don't mess with my cobbler.
Yeah.
Okay. So
No, it's great Apple Podcast anywhere, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yep. And anywhere else that fine podcasts are
Fine
found.
podcast. All right. There we go. Fine podcast. I was always close.
We're quizzing him. Hey, you'll be excited. We're getting a new,
I went from 1 to 2.5 to 3.
it's not here yet, but we're getting a new mission statement poster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been getting tired of saying it, so had to get a new poster.
Kind of
for
like
you.
the Alamo. We're going to get a new mission.
Yeah.
And you get your pie Alamo.
Puns with Lance, a show. If you want that podcast, you can let us know at TrueChat.org, Facebook, Twitter, and more.
Or you can get a pie cast.
Yeah. Okay.
Call me.
That should be a show. Piecast. right? A podcast about pies. Piecast.
Our listeners could send in pies, and I could taste test them on air.
I'm okay with it if I get to be there.
That's fine. I'll share.
You have to share the pie.
I will share.
Okay. Especially, you'll hand me the bad ones too. Here, try this.
Try this one.
That's right. I'm going to keep this one.
Not a big fan of gooseberry or rhubarb, but just let the listeners know out there. That whole genre is kind of out. Yeah.
No rhubarb?
No, Mom liked rhubarb.
Okay.
I used to have to pick the rhubarb, and not a big rhubarb pie fan.
Oh, maybe it's because you had to pick them.
No, because I pick strawberries.
Are rhubarbs harder to pick than strawberries?
Rhubarb's a leaf and a stalk. You don't pick a rhubarb. You pick stalks of rhubarb.
So are they harder?
No.
Okay. They're just as easy as strawberries?
Yeah, they grow above ground. It's a rhubarb plant, and you go out and pick. Yeah. Then you boil them down and throw sugar in them.
You just don't care for the taste?
I don't.
Okay. Strawberries.
Some people put strawberries in their rhubarb pie. They like the tart.
A strawberry rhubarb pie then.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Versus just a rhubarb pie.
Yes.
I like, I can't remember its name, but it's got crusted crumb it's an apple pie.
Apple crumb pie?
Yes.
An apple crumb pie?
Yeah. I like that better than regular apple pie.
I see.
Yeah. That would come in front of apple pie.
That means you don't know anybody knows how to make a crust.
Is that what that means?
Yes. That's what that means.
You're going to make me some crust that I can put pies in?
No. My missus makes the crust.
Oh, okay. Oh.
She's a good pie. She would be my fourth pie person.
Okay.
Just in case she decides to listen to this episode.
Got to throw that in.
She already knows she ranks behind those three.
Yeah.
But
she's okay being fourth?
But she's number one now.
That's true.
Because they're going, yes.
Yeah. That's your
she's my go-to pie person. Yeah.
Well, crust.
Crust person.
Okay. Mm-hmm. See, you got a different guy for gal.
Well, I
for
do a lot of
stages.
I do a lot of the fillings myself.
You got to be sure how many cherries per slice.
But I don't do crust.
Okay.
No, my pies are very full. Don't even talk about cheating. Oh yeah. None of this is top crust, and you got to go down 4 inches to get down to where there's pie.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for listening to our last tidbit here.
You're the one
pies.
you went there.
Hey, for people listening though, this is why you keep listening, right?
Right.
The quality stuff is at the end. I tell you. Tell your friends they got to
You
listen.
never know
to
what the
end.
redneck liberal is going to come up with at the end of the show.
5 minutes on pie.
When Justin lets him freelance.
Yeah, we'll let him freelance.
Yeah,
we'll be doing a holiday.
I am doing it for free, and my
name.
name's Lance, so I'm freelancing. Another pun.
All right. We got to get out of here before we're just going to keep heading further south. So
redneck.
Yep.
Liberal.
Yep. Yeah. I know. I knew south. I knew you'd figure out
something. See, you're going right
there.
Yeah. It's
okay. Well, thank you all for tuning in for the State of Us on True Chat in Urbana. I'm Justin T. Weller.
And I'm Lance Jackson.
We'll see you next time on the State of Us. Go vote.